This five rights ensure that an organization gets maximum value while meeting operational needs. Why the five rights matter? Why five rights matter in procurement? The five rights improve efficiency and cost control. It supports smooth operations, reduce waste and risk. It enhances supplier performance and ensure value for money. So in a nutshell, the achievement of five rights leads to value creation. It leads to value creation. So we are still on the five rights. The five rights. To get item at the right quality, to get item at the right price, and then to get it from the right place, deliver it to the right place, and the rest. So what then is right quantity? In an organization, you must buy the right quantity. There is a demand, but you need to go according to the demand. You don't overbuy or underbuy. When you overbuy, there's a disadvantage of doing that. And when you underbuy to the disadvantage of doing that, so you must buy the exact quantity needed at a particular time. You have to buy the exact quantity needed at a particular time. As I said, overpurchase has its own problem. Underpurchase also has its own problem. So what is the right quantity? There's even something called economic order quantity. Let's start with the right quantity first. What then is right quantity? Obtaining goods in sufficient quantity to meet demand and maintain service levels while minimizing excess stock holding, which incur cost and risk. So we don't want to buy in excess. When you buy in excess, you incur cost of holding these items. So we buy at a particular quantity that may hold the holding cost at a minimum cost. Key point here, right quantity prevents overstocking. When you buy right quantity, it prevents overstocking and high holding costs. It also prevents understocking and production delays. When you also underbuy, it also leads to production delays. So when you buy at the right quantity, it balances the demand and supply. So the right quantity that you are buying, you must ensure that you are balancing demand and supply. It must ensure smooth operation. How the right quantity is achieved? So in organization, how would you know that you are buying the right quantity? The right quantity demand forecasting. Before you can buy, you need forecasting. Maybe the trend. How many quantities you used in last week? Maybe 14. Meaning this week too, you are likely to use either 14 or 15, looking at the trend or the demand of the item. You can also use economic order quantity. Economic order quantity, which you are aware or you know already. You buy according to the economic of the organization. Then you must also go by proper inventory control system. Before you can buy an item, unless you have a proper inventory control system, the stores officer can also provide you the quantity that you are supposed to buy because he is receiving and issuing. So he's addressed with the quantity that are consumed within a quarter or maybe half a year or a year. So proper inventory control can help you also achieve the right quantity. And then another criteria that you can use to achieve right quantity, monitoring usage rate. Monitoring the usage rate and the lead time. The usage rate, sometimes when you go to hospitals, the main ward, female ward, and the surgical ward, how many times have they come for plaster or bandage? So the number of times that they have come for a plaster or bandage can also determine the quantity you have to buy for the next cycle. So these are some criteria that we can deploy to know or to achieve the right quantity. The importance of the right quantity is that we want to reduce storage and handling costs. We want to reduce storage and handling costs because if you overpurchase, it leads to handling costs. Handling costs like the storekeeping person, you have to pay the lighting system at the store, you need to pay the shelves, the pallet, everything you need to pay. So we need to avoid all these costs. That's why you need to buy at the right quantity. We want to also minimize waste, obsolescence, and the spoilage. When you overbuy and you couldn't use all, it leads to waste. It can lead to obsolescence, or some of them will go bad. It will expire. And any item has a value. So in case we couldn't use everything and the items become obsolete, it means we are wasting money, we are increasing costs, we are incurring some risk. So we want to avoid that. The importance of right quantity is to avoid emergency purchase at a higher cost. We want to keep some quantity at the storehouse so that we can meet emergencies, something like at the hospital level or in any other manufacturing organization. We want to avoid emergencies. There may be an emergency order, but there should be some item at the store to meet this emergency. That is why we buy at the right quantity. And we also want to improve cash flow. One reason for right quantity is that we want to improve cash flow because the moment you buy more and keep at the store, remember that we are keeping money in stock. Every stock represents money. So we don't want to overpurchase to keep money in stock when we are not getting money to do other activity in organization. No. We cannot use all our money to buy goods and store them at the storehouse while we are not getting money to run day-to-day activities. That is why we keep minimum or right quantity. So right quantity refers to the procuring the correct amount of goods or services required to meet needs without excess or shortage. We are trying to avoid excess and shortage. Hence, the right quantity must be purchased. We are now moving to the right place. What then is the right place? Right place means having goods delivered to the appropriate delivery point. Having the goods delivered to the appropriate delivery point. The item must also be packaged and transported in such a way as to secure their safe arrival in good condition. So, even if a hospital has given you a contract to deliver certain components, materials, or equipment, where are you supposed to deliver these goods? As a supplier, you may not know the storehouse or where the store is located. And then that place is also not indicated on the purchase order. So where do you have to deliver these goods? You must deliver the goods at the centralized stores. And you must ask for the centralized stores. And you must know the time that you meet the stores officer. Most organizations, the time is between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is where you can meet the stores or supply officer in organizations who take control of the items. So you must know the right place where you can deliver the goods. Sometimes there are several places in organization where they take the goods. You must know all these places, either inventory, store A, store B, store C. Some organizations like hospital level, the pharmacy or the drugs go to pharmacy store straight away. But components and suppliers, medical supply go to the general stores. Sometimes lab reagent items go to the lab department straight away. So when we are giving an order, you must know where you are delivering the goods. If it is pharmaceutical or drugs, in the hospital level, you must deliver the goods at the pharmacy store. If it is plaster, gauze, syringes, and other things, you must deliver the goods to the general store. So, right place means where you are supposed to deliver the goods. Okay? So, right place involves correct delivery location. The location at where you must deliver the goods. If it is manufacturing or production organization, you must know where to deliver the goods, whether it goes straight to the production or it must go to store before the store will have to issue it to the production team. Items are delivered to the exact point of use, either warehouse, department, in a construction organization. You know the sites where you can deliver the item, either the site 1 or site 2 or site 3, because there are several projects taking place in several places. So you must know which site are you to deliver the goods. Is it site 1 or site 2? Then we also move to right time. The right time. What is right time in purchasing? The right time means obtaining goods or services exactly when they are needed for use. When they are needed for use, neither too early nor too late. So the right time means you must deliver the goods at the right time. So let's assume at the hospital level you are given a contract to deliver the goods within 2 weeks. You must deliver it within that 2 weeks. Why within that 2 weeks? You shouldn't. 2 weeks means 14 days. You don't have to deliver it within maybe 6 days because it is too early. They may not have cleared some items from the store. That is why they indicated that bring it 2 weeks, which is 14 days after the contract has been awarded. So don't just deliver it within 2 days or 3 days. So at least you can, if it is 2 weeks, within 10 days, you can deliver the goods. So the right time is not too early, not too late. You must not also deliver the goods when the time of the item, the need of it has what? Expired. Okay? When we need the item within 14 days and deliver it within 21 days, it is not good at all. It is not good. It has its own implication. What then is right time? Timely delivery means right time. Materials arrive when required for production or service delivery. So at the production or manufacturing organization, the goods must arrive at the right time so that the production team can also schedule for production. Reason for right time is that we want to avoid delays. We want to avoid delays because procurement is a process and the right time to use another process. We want to avoid delays. We want to prevent stock out that can stop operation. Anytime we delay the goods, it also stop operation. We want to avoid early delivery, reducing storage, handling, and holding costs. As I told you, when we bring the items too early, it means we are going to handle it more than the time we're supposed to handle it. And it also increase the cost of keeping the item. So when we need the item within 14 days and we bring within 4 days, so from the 4 day up to the 14 days, it goes with some costs, which you are aware. You have to pay the stores officer, lighting, storage equipment, and other things. So we don't need the item at the too early or too late. That is the right time. Then we move to right price. What is right price? Securing all of the above at the right price, which is reasonable. The price at which you are buying the item must be reasonable. The price must be fair and the price must be competitive and affordable. So these are the criteria we are using here. The price must be reasonable, must be fair, must be competitive, and affordable. Ideally, minimizing procurement costs in order to maximize profit. Minimum procurement cost doesn't also mean that buying the item at the cheapest price. No. When we say right price, we are not talking about cheapest price. But when the price is fair, when the price is reasonable, when the price is competitive, when the price was affordable, this is what we are looking at, not the cheapest. You can buy the item at the cheapest price when all other factors have been considered. When the item is of standard, and that's where we can go for the cheapest price. When you are buying a pen, big pen, big pen is a hello,
Yes, hello.
hello.
Sir, we are here. Sir, we are here.
Hello.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Hi,
O-
sir,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So big pen is a standard item. So let's assume you are going to buy big pen, and somebody is selling big pen at 5 cedis. Somebody is selling it at 4.5. Another person is selling it at 4 cedis. The standard is the same. It can write. Its fitness for purpose is the same. In that instance, then you have to buy the price at the cheapest one. That is 4 cedis. You don't buy big pen at 5 cedis when somebody is selling it at what 4 cedis. Okay, so you can only buy when the item is cheaper, when the price is cheaper, when the item is what of standard. It is standard everywhere. So what involves in right price? We are looking for value for money. That is balancing price with quality. So before you purchase, you must also consider the quality, the reliability, and the service. Okay, so before you pay, you must consider the quality of the item, the reliability of the item, the service of the item, and then we must also consider total cost. Total cost means there are certain items that you buy today, the price is cheaper, but the maintenance of that item is high. Within a year or two, the cost incurred in maintaining that item is very high. And sometimes you buy a certain item at a higher cost, but the maintenance is low. So you must consider the trade-off between the purchase price and then the maintenance of that item before you purchase that item. So whenever you are going to buy an item, you must also consider the total cost of ownership. The total cost of ownership. The price at which you are buying the item today and then the maintenance cost. So let's assume you are buying Toyota car and a Benz. And the Benz, everybody is aware that the Benz price is higher than Toyota car. But the cost of maintaining Benz is cheaper as compared to Toyota because 3 4 years later you might have maintained the Toyota car with extra cost, but for the Benz, the maintenance cost is low, but the first price, the price at which the cost price is very high. So you must consider total cost before you buy an item, not just the price of the item, but the maintenance cost. And you must also consider fair and competitive pricing. You must also consider fair and competitive pricing when you are buying an item. What is the meaning of this? You must achieve through negotiation, tendering, and market analysis. The reason for tendering is to help you get the best price out of the lot. So one way to get the best price is through negotiation or tendering. So these criteria or these strategies can help you to get the best price. Negotiation, tendering, and what market analysis. You must also go to the market and ask for the prices of the goods that you are going to buy. So as a procurement officer in any organization, before you buy an item, it means you have fair idea of the goods. So you don't allow the supplier to bully the procurement organization. So if the price is maybe 50 cedis and then the suppliers are quoting around 48 cedis to 55 cedis, so it means it's within the range. If you have the fair idea of the price at the market and the price is 50 cedis and the suppliers are quoting around 48 to maybe 45 cedis, so it means the prices are within the range. But if the suppliers are quoting 80 cedis, 90 cedis, 100 cedis, meanwhile the price at the market is 50 cedis, then you should be very careful. Either the suppliers are connive and they want to dupe the organization. Okay. After you have analyzed these five rights, these five rights will also interrelate. They also interrelate. What is the interrelationship and the trade-off between the five rights? It is also important to realize that the five rights are interdependent and interlinked. They are interdependent and they interlink. Improving one often affects the other. When you improve one right can also affect another right. So we must balance this interrelationship known as what trade-offs. So buyers must make trade-off rather than optimizing one right in a solution. You don't uplift one right and then degrade the other right. The 5 rights are interdependent, and achieving one right may compromise another. When you try to concentrate on one right alone, you may also compromise the other. Effective purchasing requires balancing this right to minimize total cost and maximize value for organization. So what then is the interrelationship? So let's look at the right price and the right quality. Want to go for right price and then the right quality. What is the interrelationship between quality and the price? Quality and the price. Quality and the there's assumption that you cannot achieve the best quality at a low price, and it is rare phenomenon. It's like the higher the quality, the higher the price. Okay, the right price and the right quality are closely linked, and effective purchasing balances both to achieve value for money rather than to lower cost. Relation between right price and then right quality. Lower prices often come with lower quality. So listen here. Lower prices often comes with lower quality. So the relationship between price and quality is that lower prices sometimes comes with lower quality, leading to what? Failures. Leading to failures. When the item is low, it means the quality too is also low, and it can also fail you. It can lead to rework or high maintenance cost. You may buy the item first at a lower price, but the maintenance cost is high. Okay, so the lower the price, the lower the quality. The higher the price, the higher the quality. That's the assumption. But sometimes it sounds well, and it happens. Higher quality may cost more initially. As I told you, as I use Benz and Benz and then Toyota as an example for you, higher quality at the initial stage, but sometimes it reduces breakdown, waste, and then replacement cost. Higher quality may cost more initially. Okay, higher quality may cost initially, but maintenance cost may be lower. The goal is value for money, where price and quality are balanced. So here, we want to balance the price and at the same time quality. So we must try as much as possible to achieve medium price and a medium quality, or medium price, high quality. But when we go for low price, we should assume that then you're also going for low quality. So there's a interrelationship between price and quality. The lower the item, it also affects the quality of the item. So we must know the interrelationship between price and then quality. And it sounds well. The right quantity and the right time. So we are now also discussing the interrelationship between quantity and then time. Quantity and time and the right place. We are putting these three together. We want to find out the interrelation between right quantity, right time, and the right place. Quantity and time are linked in biased decision making. Quantity and time are linked in the in biased decision making. Issues such as demand and stock levels are as much as future of time decision as they are of quantity decision. Okay, so quantity and time. Quantity and time. Now let's even take this. If you're going to sew your dress at the tailor's place, and then the normal lead time is two weeks, and we are saying you need it within 3 days, you see the price will go up. The price of the price of sewing the item at the tailor's place will go up. But if you allow the normal timing of 2 weeks, the tailor will charge you the normal price. So quantity, time also have some interrelationship here. If you are procuring supplies to cover demand over a long time period, you will need a large quantity. So if you want an item to be kept for maybe 6 weeks or 6 months over a long time, that means the quantities too will be large. Okay, So the time may also demand the quantity. But if you need the same item within maybe 1 week, then you also reduce the quantity. So let's assume you use a particular item 10 at a week, another 10 at a week. So it means in 2 weeks you use 20. In 3 weeks you use 30. So in case you want the item within 2 months, which is 8 weeks, you are going to use 80 within that 2 months. So it means the quantity must also be 80. So the timing also have effect on the quantity that you are buying. The same item, if you need it 1 week, it means you have to buy 10. So quantity and time go together. If you purchase in small quantity, you will need to reorder more frequently. Okay, so another assumption about time and quantity is that the more you request for particular quantity, the more you also it goes with time. So if you purchase in small quantities, you will need to reorder more frequently. Okay, you need to order more frequently. Okay, if you think you might need a stock of an item at a short notice, you must buy a large quantity well in advance. Okay, if you continue to buy particular item always at the short notice, then the best thing you have to do now is what? Buy it a large quantity. So it's like the same item every 2 days you order. It means you need this item almost all the time. So what you're supposed to do now is what? Is to avoid the frequent orders and buy it at what? Large quantity. So timing and quantity also goes together. The time influences the quantity, and the quantity also influences the time. I hope I'm making sense. We are also looking at the interrelationship among these three. Ordering the right quantity too early leads to high holding costs. Ordering the right quantity too early leads to high holding costs. So this is the interrelation between quantity and the price. Quantity and the price. If you order right quantity too early, at the time that you don't need the item, but you have ordered it, it means it's going to add up to the price of taking care of this item. You need the item in December, but if you have ordered it in June, it means that from June to December, you are going to incur holding costs. The holding cost is how you keep the item, the cost you incur in keeping the item. So this, in that case, quantity also affects price here. Okay, if you order item too early, at the time you don't need the item, it may also lead to what? Hidden cost, or not. This one, not even hidden cost. It is real. The person who is going to keep the item from June out to December, you pay him. Meanwhile, you need the item in December. Why don't you wait until December before you order? So quantity also goes with what? Price. Ordering the right quantity too late can also cause some delays. Okay, some also delays. So here, quantity and time also comes in here. The effect of quantity and time also come here, because when you order the item too late, it means the supplier can also delay you, because the lead time of the supplier is 1 month, but you order the items just 1 week. The supplier cannot meet that 1 week lead time. Okay, so it also affects the timing of delivery. So if you order item too late, it also affects time. As I give as an example, when you go to tailor to sew your item, and the lead time of the tailor is 2 weeks, and you say you need a material or your cloth within 3 days, it means the timing will also affect the price. So time, price, quantity, they interrelate. Now, delivering to the right place, even at the right time and quantity, disrupt operation. Delivering to wrong place. When you are going to also deliver an item and deliver the item at the wrong place, it also leads to what? A disruption of operation. It can also affect what? The time of relocating the item to the right place. Okay, so the place and time also go together. You need the item at female ward, but you have delivered the item at the male ward. Repackaging the item to the right word also goes with time and can also lead to some extra cost for rework. For rework. Then frequent small deliveries improve timing and location. Frequent small delivery improve timing and location. Now the right quantity and the right time and at the right place ensure uninterrupted operation, minimize total cost and improve organizational efficiency. So I'll pause here. If somebody has a question on this five right and the interrelationship between the five right, now is the time for you to ask a question. Please, if there's a question, you can ask a question. Felix, do you have a question for me?
No, sir.
Hello? Blessing, do you have a question for me?
No, please.
No,
I'm
sir.
okay.
Blessing, do you have a... Okay. So if you're
No,
okay, then
please.
let's also... Okay, let's continue. Apart from these five rights, there are other rights that are not part of the five rights, but they are all important. Something like a five other consideration in the five rights of procurement. Okay, what is right procurement? You know, right procurement is not part of the five rights, but when you're able to buy at the right procurement, it also helps. So apart from the original five rights, there are other rights that must also be considered. So we must, in fact, add a number of further rights. So we are now going to add other right for external procurement. So the next right that we are going to consider here is the right procurement. The right procurement. What is the right procurement? The avoidance of waste is a key principle in adding value. So it is important that we buy at the right procurement. Okay. Respond to what? Genuine and justifiable business need in order to avoid the procurement of what? Unnecessary items. So we don't just buy. If you buy unnecessarily, it goes on to affect the organization. So you must also have the right procurement and the right procurement. The right procurement. That you must respond to the time that the items are needed. If you buy an item when that item are not needed, it will also cost the organization. It also costs an organization. Gone are the days when people are taking 10% of the item bought. Some managers will not consider the item that they are buying because the 10% that they are looking for is what they are considering. So if the organization may need 100 cartons of item, they will consider 200 because when you buy 100 and the 10% may be 50 cedis, when you buy 200, the 10% is going to be 100 cedis. So managers were not even considering about the waste that they are causing the organization, but they are considering about the 10% that they will get from suppliers. So it is better we buy at the right procurement. Okay, we must make sure the procurement item match the business need and fulfill their intention, function to the required level. So before you buy, it must be at the right procurement, at the time that you need the item, at the right quantity that you need the item. So apart from the normal five rights, there's another right known as what? The right procurement. Okay, and we also have the right supplier. Who is the right supplier? There are a lot of suppliers in the market. There are a lot of suppliers in the market. So which one is the right supplier? Which one is the right supplier? So selection of the right supplier will be crucial in achieving all the other procurement activities. You may have all the rights, but if you fail to choose the right supplier, you are doomed. You are doomed. Though right supplier is not part of the main five rights, but choosing the right supplier helps a lot. The right supplier is one who can deliver the right quantity and quality to the right place at the right time at the right price. So If you choose the right supplier, you're able to achieve all the 5 rights. If you're able to select the right supplier, you're able to achieve the right quantity, the right quality, to the right place, at the right time, and at the right price. Though we do not consider right supplier as part of the right, but it's also good. Then you must also have what supply reliability and what performance. Supply reliability and what performance. Supply reliability and what performance. Then you have the right relationship. Another right is what? Right relationship. Right relationship. The other right we are considering here are right procurement, right supplier, and the third one is what? Right relationship. Creating a good and collaborative relationship with suppliers is very good. It helps a lot. When you create a right relationship with the suppliers or the right suppliers, it helps the organization. Building good relationship with suppliers to improve quality. When you have the right relationship, it improves quality, it improves delivery, it improves innovation, and it also helps to reduce costs. So having the right relationship also helps. Long-term partnership can support better performance across all 5 rights. Yes, if you're in a good relationship with the supplier, you get the right quality, you get the right quantity, item are delivered at the right place, at the right time, and at the right price. So apart from the traditional 5 rights, there are other secondary or supportive 3 rights that you must also consider. That's the right procurement, right supplier, and the right relationship. Then there's also another one called right process. The right process. What is the right process? The right process will generally be one that complies with the organizational policies and external regulations. So if you comply with internal regulations and the external regulations, it means you are doing the right thing. We call it what? Right process. Example, sustainable procurement. Buying the item at buying the item sustainably is a right process. Or the use of what? Competition is a right process. If you are buying an item and then there are about 7, 8 suppliers who can supply the same item and you go for sole source or single source, you are not doing the right process. The right process that if you are buying item from 10 suppliers who can supply the same item, you go for 10 bring. So when you go for 10 brand, it means you are using the right process. But if you don't go for 10 brand, you go for single source, you are not doing the right, you are not going by the right process. So in supply chain too, or in procurement, you must also go for the right process. Okay, it's appropriate to the circumstance and what context. Okay, now right process reflects good practice and sound procurement discipline and ethics. Okay, and it's efficient. Okay, so you must go for other rights which are not part of the 5 rights. The other rights are right procurement, right supplier, right relationship, and the right process. All these things are part of the right activities in procurement. The other 4 are supportive. The other 4 are supportive. Apart from the primary 5 rights, there are other secondary rights that you must also consider. Now we are moving towards procurement and supply chain management. That is unit 3. Procurement and supply chain management. What is procurement and supply chain management? Procurement is part and the supply chain management is also another part. More often than we have dealt with the procurement aspect, but when it comes to the supply chain aspect, we have not dealt more about it. So this time around, we are going to deal with the supply chain aspect, but we still add the procurement to it. So at the end of this unit, you, the students, must be able to understand procurement. You must understand materials management, and you also must understand logistics. So there's difference between procurement, materials management, and then logistics. There's difference between procurement, materials management, and then logistics. So you must understand these 3. These are the 3 things that adapt, that combine to form procurement and supply chain management. That is procurement, materials management, and then logistics. So you must understand supply chain networks and the structuring of supply chains. You must also understand the process from procurement to supply chain management. You must identify stakeholders of procurement and supply chain function. You must also understand corporate social responsibility, and you must explain stakeholder management. So these are the constituents of the unit 3 that we are going to discuss. We are now going to discuss procurement, materials management, and logistics. We have discussed extensively on procurement. What then is materials management and then logistics? Okay, let's recap our minds more on procurement because it is also part of this unit 3. Though we have dealt extensively with procurement. Procurement is the process of acquiring goods and services from external suppliers to meet organizational needs. The main activity of procurement is that you identify the goods that you are going to buy. Identification of goods. Supplier source. After you have identified the item that you want to buy, the next step is what? Supplier sourcing. The item that you are going to buy for your organization, most of the organizations are selling this item. How do you locate these suppliers so that you can secure their services? Okay, so procurement deals for identification of needs, selection of suppliers, and then purchasing and order placement, and the supplier relationship, Now let's move on to materials management. Materials management, more or less, is also part of supply chain. So material management focus on the planning, storage, movement, and control of materials within the organization from receipt to usage. All activities that are put in place in receiving the items and then issuing the items to the user department is known as what? Materials management. The planning, the receiving, storage, movement, and control of material at the store is what? Materials management. What are the key activities that are involved in materials management? Inventory management is a key activity in materials management. Warehousing and storage are also part of the materials management. Then we have stock control. This stock control, we may have economic order quantity, we may have JIT, we may have ABC analysis. All these are part of stock control. And they also have material handling. Material handling is also part of materials management. How to handle materials, how to store the item at the storehouse. They are all part of materials management. Then how to issue the item to production or users. How to issue that, because the item that you have bought into organization, it is not organization who are going to, it is not the stores officer who is going to use it, but he must also issue them to the user department or production. So these are the 5 key activities of materials management of supply chain. What is the objective of materials management? Material management objective is to ensure materials are available when needed. So as a materials manager, you must always ensure that the items are available when needed. You must also minimize inventory and holding cost, because any item held at the store, there's monetary value in the item. So you must also minimize the inventory cost and the holding cost. So you don't have to overbuy or underbuy. Okay, and they must also avoid stock out and overstocking. The reason to avoid stock out and overstocking is that stock out has its own implication. Overstocking also has its own implication. So you must make sure that you buy the right quantity. You must ensure that you buy the right quantity. So that is materials management for you. Now let's move on to logistics. What then is logistics? One clue that I can give you about logistics is that supply chain was developed from logistics. Supply chain came into being in just within the 1990s. Before 1990, we had logistics. We never had a supply chain. But now, as we speak, supply chain has overshadowed logistics, or supply chain goes beyond logistics. As we progress, we will differentiate between logistics and the supply chain. But now, the concept now is what? Logistics. What is logistics? Logistics deals with the physical flow and distribution. The moment you buy an item, you transport the item from one place to another place. You distribute the item from one place to another place. That activity is known of us, is known as logistics. So logistics deals with the physical flow and distribution of goods, services, and information from suppliers to customers, and the flow of finished goods to the consumer. Okay, so anything that involves the movement from one point to another point in supply chain, it is known as what? Logistics. The movement of goods from the supplier to the purchase organization is part of logistics. And even from the supply organization to the final customer is also logistics. So in logistics, we have two types of logistics. We have inbound logistics and outbound logistics. Let's assume we have production organization. All activities that happen between the supplier to the production is where they buy the raw materials. It is inbound logistics. When the items are converted from raw material to finished goods, and the items are moved from the production or manufacturing organization to customers, is known as outbound logistics. So we have outbound logistics and inbound logistics. All activities from the supplier down to the organization or manufacturing organization is inbound logistics. After converting the raw materials into finished goods, when the goods are being moved from the manufacturing organization to customers, wholesalers, and the retailers, that activity is known as outbound logistics. Now, what is the key activities in logistics here? Transportation and distribution, order processing. So here, the manufacturing organization will order the goods from the supplier, and then they will convert it. Then thereafter, the customer will also order the goods from the manufacturing organization. It is known as order processing. Then fleet and route management. Fleet and route management. Before you convey any item from one point to another point, we have mode of transportation. We may have rail transportation, we may have ship transportation, we may have road transportation, we may have air transportation, we may have pipeline. This mode of transportation will determine the item that you are transporting and the cost, and then the bulky or the lighter of what? Of the item. And the emergence of this item. When the items are of emergency, you don't take ship, you take aeroplane to transport the goods. When the item is very bulky and heavy, you cannot use aeroplane, but you can use ship or train. Okay, yes. So depending on the nature and the cost of the item that you are transporting will also determine the fleet or the mode of transportation, whether to transport this item by rail or air or ship or maybe road or pipeline. If you are buying gaseous or liquid item, the best way you can transport it through the pipeline. So classical example is a turbo pipeline that we have. We cannot transport that pipeline through that gas through maybe train, ship, or whatever. Okay. Then packaging and delivery is also part of logistics. They also have reverse logistics. Reverse logistics means you have delivered the item, but there's a problem with the item, so you need to reverse it back to the supplier to do some to rework one item before you bring it back. We call it what? Reverse logistic. Reverse, come back, meaning I have received the item, but there's a problem with the item, so I am reversing it. I'm returning to the supplier who brought the item. So these are the 5 main components of logistics: transportation, distribution, order processing, fleet and route management, packaging and delivery, reverse logistics. Now, what is the objective of logistics? You want to deliver efficiently and cost effectively and achieve customer satisfaction through timely delivery. Okay, So in supply chain, these are the main three things that we have. We have procurement, we have materials management, we have logistics. These three activities form the real supply chain. Okay, these three activities: procurement, materials management, and logistics management. Okay, supply chain and network and structuring chains. We are now moving to another topic known as supply chains and networks and structuring of supply chains. Okay, the supply chain encompasses all organizations and activities associated with the flow and transformation of goods from the raw material stage through to the end user, as well as the associated information flow. When it says supply chain, it means all activities involved from the supplier to the manufacturing organization, then to the wholesale organization, then to retail organization, and then to the customer. So when we talk of classical supply chain, these are the main 5 organizations who are involved. The supplier who supplies the raw materials, then it moves to the manufacturer to convert the item from raw state to finished goods. From the manufacturing organization, the items move to the wholesaler, and then from wholesaler it moves to the retailer. Then from the retailer it goes to the customer. So you and I, we are customers of supply chain. Any item that we are using, whether in our house, in our in classroom or wherever, it went through the supply chain. But two of us, between the customer and the retailer, that's where you bought the item. But all activity that transpired before you bought your laptop or your mobile phone, it is at your blind side. The supply chain started from where? You bought it at the retail shop. You bought your mobile phone, you bought your laptop at a retail. But what transpired before you bought it, you don't know. It went through certain chain before you go to the retailer, the shop where you bought the item. It started as a raw material, the item that you bought, like the laptop or the mobile phone. It started as a component or raw material. Another organization somewhere converted it. It moved to the wholesale, and then the retailer where you bought the item also went for the retailer and bought it before you had access to it. So supply chain is made up of some organizations and then activities. And then it also moves with information, transportation, people, because from the raw material stage, when items are moving from the supplier to the manufacturing organization, it goes before transportation. It goes with information. Information means how many quantity of the item you procure. It is an information. What time do you need the item? It's an information. And supply chain also goes with money. Because the moment the supplier delivers the goods to the manufacturer has to pay the supplier. So these are known as networks. When we talk of supply chain, we are talking about network. What is the network over here? It is a network between the supplier, manufacturing organization, wholesaler, retailer, and the customer. We are all involved in supply chain. And apart from this network, there are other networks that are involved: money, transportation, information, and people. So we cannot also do supply chain without people. Okay. So here, supply chain involves raw materials, it involves manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, and then end customers. Key flows in supply chain: material flow, physical movement of goods, information flow, demand forecast. So in supply chain, we have for material flow as one, that is physical movement of goods. We also have information flow as two, that is demand forecast. Before the items are delivered to you, you must give the information about when to deliver, the quantity to also deliver, the cost at which you must deliver the item, and then the financial flow. After delivering the goods, there must be payment. So supply chain also goes with what? Information, finance, people, and then transportation. Okay. So let's take classical example of supply chain. Supply chain of cocoa products. Okay, something like how do I put it? You take it this way. Supply chain involves supply chain of hello.
Yes,
Hi.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir, we are here.
let's take supply chain like chocolate. Let's take a product like chocolate. How did it start? It started from the cocoa farmer, the farmer who planted the cocoa. That's the supplier. So supply chain of chocolate starts with a cocoa farmer. It moves to the cocoa processor, the one who processes it. After processing, it goes to the chocolate manufacturer. Okay, when the farmer has harvested the cocoa, he processes the cocoa beans. After that, it goes to the manufacturer. That's the chocolate manufacturer. Then after manufacturing, it goes to a distributor who distributes the cocoa, the chocolate. Then from the distributor, it goes to the retail shop. And then where the two of us, we bought our chocolate is the retail shop. And we are the consumers. We are also part of the supply chain. So classical supply chain of chocolate starts from the cocoa farmer, the cocoa processor, the chocolate manufacturer, the chocolate distributor, and the chocolate retail shop, and we are the chocolate consumer. So this is an example of supply chain. Manufacturer, it goes with transportation. After that, the manufacturer also pay the cocoa farmer, and then it also move from the manufacturer to the distributor. The distributor also pay the manufacturer. Then it transported from the distributor to the retailer. Then the retailer will also pay the distributor. Then we, the customers, will go and pay, will go and buy and also pay. So supply chain goes with transportation, information, and then money. This is a classical example of supply chain. Let's continue. Then in supply chain, we also have upstream and downstream supply chain. In supply chain, we have upstream and downstream supply chain. What's the difference between downstream and upstream supply chain? A supply chain can be divided into two main directions based on the focal organization, the firm you are looking at. So what is upstream supply chain? The upstream supply chain consists of all activities and organizations that supply input to the focal firm. So here, all activities that happen, all organizations are involved in supplying raw materials and components to manufacturing organizations. These organizations are known as what? Upstream supply chains. Upstream supply chain. So where the material starts from to the organization where they are going to convert the item is known as what? Upstream supply chain. So between manufacturer and suppliers, raw material, component and part suppliers, that activity is known as upstream supply chain, or it can better be still known as inbound logistics. So you can take note that upstream supply chain, is it the same as what? Inbound logistics. You can Google and find out. And then the downstream supply chain is between the manufacturing organization to the final customer. All activities that happen between the manufacturer, all organization that involved in transporting the goods from the manufacturer to the customer is known as downstream supply chain. Okay, so in supply chain there are two: upstream supply chain and downstream supply chain. The upstream supply chain begins from suppliers and ends at the manufacturing organization. After converting the goods, all activity down to the customer is known as downstream supply chain. Okay, so what are activities involved in upstream supply chain? Sourcing, yes. Sourcing and procurement are upstream supply chain activity. Supply selection and evaluation are upstream supply chain activity. Purchasing and contracting are upstream supply chain activity. Inbound logistics, yes, are also part of upstream supply chain. Supply relationship are also part of upstream supply chain. Now, what is downstream supply chain? What is downstream supply chain? The downstream supply chain include all activities and organizations involved in delivering product or services to the final customer. Here, to the final customer. Who is involved in downstream supply chain? Those activities are distributors and wholesalers, retailers, customers, and end users. Okay, so there's difference between downstream and upstream supply chain. So in supply chain has been divided into two. We have downstream and the upstream. Take note. Then in supply chain too, we have inter-business supply chain and internal supply chain. We also have another category of supply chain within the internal organization, and the supply chain within the organization and their suppliers, or organization and their customers. So we may have a supply chain which is limited to just one organization. Okay, we are going to look at these two different supply chain. We have inter supply chain and then internal supply chain. Inter means two or three supply organizations who are involved. Internal supply chain means it's just within one organization. So within one organization, they can have a supply chain. And between one organization and another organization, they can also have a supply chain. So what is internal supply chain? The internal supply chain refers to all supply chain activities that occur within a single organization, coordinating different departments to deliver products or services. Okay, so here, what are the supply chain activities here? Between procurement and stores, or stores and inventory, or within stores and production, or warehousing. So within one single organization, they may have procurement, and then, or they may have purchasing, they may also have stores, inventory, they may have operation or production, and maybe warehousing. So all these activities are within one single organization. It is known as what? Inter-supply chain activity, where warehousing or store supply certain items to the user department. It is internal supply chain. Where stores supply raw materials, parts, and components to production team within the same organization, it is internal supply chain. So supply chain can be performed internally, and supply chain can also be performed between one organization and another organization. So what are the key activities in internal supply chain? Demand planning and forecasting. Demand planning and forecasting is part of the internal supply chain. Materials handling, because you must keep the materials at the store, handle them, store them where they are part of internal supply chain. And then internal transport. Sometimes within the same organization, if you are sending one item from the store to the user department, you must take transport, because between the stores and where they use the item, the distance is very long. You cannot carry the item on your head. You must take a transport. Internal supply chain also involve inventory control, production scheduling, information sharing between what department. So all activities between procurement, warehousing, forecasting, demand and then forecasting within one single organization is known as internal supply chain. Now let's move to inter-business supply chain. This is the typical supply chain that we are aware of. Inter-business supply chain. The supply chain is between 2, 3, 4, 5 organizations, from the supplier to the manufacturer to the wholesale to the retail and the final customer. It is inter-business supply chain. Bear in mind that the supply organization is different from the manufacturing organization. The manufacturing organization is a different entity. It's a different organization. The wholesale organization is also a different organization. And the retail organization doesn't have any bearing with the wholesale or the manufacturing organization. So these are different organizations who form the supply chain, and they are known as inter-business supply chain. What then is inter-business supply chain? The inter-business supply chain refers to supply relationship and flows that occur between different organizations. This focused buyer-supplier exchange usually happen within the context of longer supply process. So it starts from producer of raw material suppliers to processing plant, which supplies to the manufacturing plant, which supplies to the distributor, which supplies to the retail, and then to the final customer. This is inter-business supply chain. An inter-business supply chain is linked sequence with contributors and different firms. So these are different firms who are involved in what supply chain. They are known as what? Inter-business supply chain. We also want to find out the structure of supply chain. We call something called supply chain tiers. supply chain tiers. We have tier 1, we have tier 2, we have tier 3. Supplier tiers. What's the meaning of supplier tier? The tier is spelled as TIERS. Now, a classical supply chain that involves supplier, manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer, and a customer are also known as tiers. Do you know when you take a classical supply chain, the retailer is far from the supplier, the original supplier, or the wholesaler is also far from the original supplier. The original supplier just supplies to the manufacturer. The manufacturer also supplies to the wholesaler, meaning the wholesaler doesn't have any link with the original supplier. The wholesaler has a link with the manufacturer. Likewise, the retailer doesn't have any link with the manufacturer. He has a link with the wholesaler. Likewise, we the consumers, we don't have any link with the manufacturer. We don't have any link with the wholesaler. We only buy from the retail. So we have a direct link with the retailer, but we don't have a direct link with the wholesaler or the manufacturer. But all other people on the supply chain are called tiers. So now who is a tier 1, who is tier 2, who is tier 3? Let's take a retailer who deals directly with a wholesaler. The wholesaler is tier 1. But the retailer doesn't deal directly with what? The manufacturer. The manufacturer is the second tier on the supply chain. So as far as the retailer is concerned, the tier 1 supplier is the wholesaler. The tier 2 supplier is the manufacturer. The tier 3 supplier is what? The final, the original supplier of the raw materials. Okay? We, the consumers, we deal directly with the retailer where we bought our items. So the retailer is our first tier. The wholesaler who follows is our second tier. The manufacturer who follows the wholesaler is also the third tier. And then the final or the original supplier who supplies to the manufacturer is the fourth tier. So in any supply chain, the customer deals with what? The first tier. It doesn't deal with the second tier. So tier 1 has a direct relationship with the customer, but tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 are indirect relationship. The tier 1 has direct relationship with the customer, but tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, their relationship with the customer is indirect because they don't deal directly with tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. We are going to look at this critically. Structuring the supplier chain refers to organizing and managing suppliers into levels. So suppliers are categorized into levels based on their distance from the focal firm. Based on their distance from the focal firm. So let's take the retailer as a focal firm. The distance between the retailer and the wholesaler, the distance is very small because he has direct relationship. But the retailer doesn't have direct relationship with the manufacturer organization. The distance between the manufacturer to the retailer is what? Is longer. And then meaning that manufacturer is a tier 2 who has no direct relationship but indirect what? Relationship. So what is the essence of bringing this tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 and the others? Why do we have to worry ourselves on the person who supply our supplier? Okay, it helps them to understand who supplies who. Yes. Even if
Hey.
I have bought the item from, yes.
Sir, please, I think some people want to ask question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. This is Elijah. Under the supply chain, I want to know the difference between transportation and transport.
Oh, this was English word. One is verb and one is what? Transportation
Um,
and transport.
y-
How do
yes, please.
you understand it? To me, the transport is the material transporting the item. Okay, and then when the item is in motion, it is what? Transportation. Am I making sense to you?
Okay, sir.
Transport and
Sir,
transportation. Yes.
Sir, please, the
Go.
word there, tier, what does it mean?
Tier.
Yes.
The spelling is TIERS. The tier
Yes.
means level, the levels of suppliers. Levels of suppliers. The first person who supplied the item to you is tier 1. And then the person who supplied the item to the one who supplied to you is tier 2. That person, you don't have direct relationship with the second supplier, who is tier 2. You don't have direct relationship with it, but you have direct relationship with tier 1 because you bought the item from that person. So when you bought the item, that person is tier 1. But where the person you bought item from also bought the item from, it's a second tier. You don't have direct relationship with the original supplier, but the first supplier. So when we take classical supply chain, listen to me. It starts from supplier, then it moves to manufacturer, to the wholesaler, retailer, and the customer. So let's take retailer for example. Retailer bought the item from the wholesaler. So the wholesaler is now tier 1 to the retailer. And then the wholesaler also bought the item from the manufacturer. So the manufacturer becomes tier 2 to the retailer, but tier 1 to the wholesaler. Okay, so the tiers are levels of supply that we have in the supply chain. So when the levels are 4, it means we have 4 tiers. But some have direct relationship, others have indirect relationship. Because where you bought the item, you have direct relationship with the person. So the distance between you and that person is shorter. But somebody who buy the item and supply to the one who supplied to you is second tier. You don't have any direct relationship with that supplier.
Sir,
Am I making sense?
sir. So I
Yes,
want to,
please.
sir,
Am
sir,
I
I
making
want,
sense?
I want to find out something. So what
Okay.
of the manufacturer also buying the raw materials from someone? Is it so meaning that in this case the manufacturer is also it's also a tier 1 to the one supplying him the raw materials, right?
The person who supplied the raw material to
No.
the manufacturer is the tier 1. The manufacturer himself doesn't fall.
So it's a
Go
tier 1
on.
to the manufacturer, right?
Yes. The supplier is the tier 1 to the manufacturer.
Okay,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm saying.
And then the wholesaler, the manufacturer is a tier 1 to the wholesaler.
Okay.
And the
Because you
wholesaler
buy
too,
from
and the wholesaler too is a tier 1 to the retailer.
okay.
And then we, the
Okay.
customers who bought the item, the retailer where we bought the item is also our tier 1.
At tier 1, okay.
So,
Okay.
so now who is tier now between the retailer, the supplier, and the manufacturer? Who is tier 1? Let's take the customer. We are customers. Who is our tier 1? Our tier 1 is the retailer. Our tier 2 is the wholesaler. Our
Okay.
3 is the manufacturer. Our tier
Manufacturer.
4 is the supplier. And
Okay.
while the
Okay.
tier are moving up, it means we don't have direct relationship with tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. But our relationship between the tier 1.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Am I
Okay.
making sense?
Yeah,
Are you
Yes,
okay now?
please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So the focal firm. So here, the focal firm is the organization at the center of the supply chain analysis. It directly manages tier 1 suppliers that provide goods and services directly to the firm. It indirectly influences tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers that provide input to tier 1 suppliers, not directly to a focal firm. So you must understand it in this way. Now, we also have supplier-based optimization. Another topic is known as supplier-based optimization. The simple words I can use to describe supplier-based optimization is that sometimes you may have suppliers, about 4 or 5, who supply the same item. So why don't you tune in to maybe 1 or 2? You take the best 2 out of the 5 and do away with the 3, because The more you keep these suppliers on your supplier data sheet, you are incurring extra costs. It's like managing 4 or 5 suppliers. There are more costs incurred than managing 2 or 1. So we want to optimize our supply base. We don't want about 5, 7, 8 suppliers who supply the same item for us. When we keep these suppliers, it means we are incurring extra costs. So supply based optimization is the process of reviewing, rationalizing, and improving the number, mix, and performance of suppliers to achieve lower costs, reduce risk, better quality, and stronger relationships. Reduce risk is like a man having 4 wives or 5 wives. What does the man need from a woman? It means if 1 woman or 2 women can do that thing, you don't need to keep 4, 5, 6, 7 women. So how do we rationalize our supply base? We want to do away other suppliers who are not helping, but we are incurring more costs. If you have 2, 3, 4, 5 wives, one cost of managing 1 wife maybe 100 cities. It means 5, it means 5 times 100, 500. It is extra cost that you are incurring. Meanwhile, 1 woman can perform all other activities that 5 women can perform. So in supply, we also have that thing we call it supply-based optimization. Okay, the supply base is all the vendors that supply goods and services to the focal firm. Supply bases are often described in terms of their size. Okay, so sometimes the size of the supplier. Okay, so supply base can be the size. It can also be what the location, whether the suppliers are local suppliers, national suppliers, or international suppliers. Okay, so you can either keep the local suppliers if they're able to provide the item that national and international suppliers give to you. Then there's no need keeping the national and international suppliers. Go ahead and keep only the local suppliers. Okay, and then we are going to look at the objective of supplier-based optimization. The reason of supply-based optimization is to reduce total procurement and transactional costs, improve supply performance and reliability. As I told you, if there's a particular activity that a woman performs for you, that's why you are going to marry her. Meanwhile, you have 3 wives. Why don't you tell the other 3 wives who can also perform the same function, or what they are not doing well to perform well, so that you keep the 3 instead of bringing in another woman? So that's the meaning of supply-based optimization. Key activities in supply-based optimization is what? Reducing the number of suppliers. So the main activities here is what? We want to reduce the number of suppliers, because the more suppliers that we have, we also incur extra costs. We want to eliminate duplication. Yes. The reason for supplier-based optimization is what? We want to eliminate duplication or low-performing suppliers. We want to consolidate spend with fewer or better suppliers. Now we want to concentrate on few or better suppliers who can meet our needs. So we don't need to keep so many people or so many suppliers in our supplier data sheets. If 2 or 3 can perform the activities that we need, we don't need to keep 10. If 3 of them can perform the activity that we need, that is all. So that's the meaning of supply-based optimization. We want to optimize our suppliers. Okay, so we can do this through supply segmentation. Okay, supply segmentation can also be that strategic suppliers, we have transactional suppliers, we have routine suppliers, we have low volume suppliers. So you can keep 1 or 2 suppliers for strategic items. You can also keep 2 or 3 suppliers for routine suppliers. So in that, we call it supply segmentation and tiering. Okay, we can also use performance evaluation to achieve our supply-based optimization. What is performance evaluation? After we have dealt with suppliers for 5 to 10 years, we evaluate them and see who is performing and those who are not performing. In that case, we can use key performance indicators, like maybe those who are providing quality, let's keep them. Those who are helping us to reduce costs, let's keep them. Those who deliver on time, let's keep them. So out of this 20 supply who supply our goods, we can reduce them to maybe 5. We can keep 1 for quality, 1 for cost, 1 for delivery, and then innovation. So we don't need many, we don't need plenty, we don't need more of this supply. We want to streamline them. Okay, advantages of supply-based optimization. What are the advantages that we can incur? The best advantage is that control procurement costs. When we keep smaller supply base, we are able to control procurement costs. A large supply base usually means more small orders, a higher transaction, and administrative costs. Look at even the administrative costs involved in managing one supplier, while giving larger orders to fewer suppliers. So we can consolidate. If you are giving 5 different awards to 5 different suppliers, why don't you combine these 5 awards and give it to one supplier who can deliver? If the supplier has the competence and the control to deliver those items, it's better we give to one person and even receive discounts. Okay, and also go for discounts, because the larger the quantity, we are likely to attract some discounts. Okay, and then we want to make sure that we want to explore the added value potentials of concentrating on more collaborative relationship. So if you have one wife, your mind is at ease. Instead of managing 5 wives, you can manage one wife efficiently than managing 5 women. Each one has each one has her own character, but you can manage one wife and it will help you to minimize your cost. Okay, one advantage of supply base is to avoid waste. That's why I'm saying that what 5 women can do for you, 1 woman can do the same. 1 woman can cook for you. He can wash your items. He can clean. He can have you the best sex that you have, instead of what using and keeping 5 women. So one way or one advantage of supply base is to minimize waste or eliminate suppliers who cannot meet the firm's requirements. Okay, now we are also looking at from procurement to supply chain management. From procurement to supply chain management. So now we are no more dealing with procurement. We are now coming straight away towards supply chain. What then is supply chain? What actually is what supply chain? Supply chain management, in specific and technical sense, refers to the particular modern strategic approach to supply network. I told you supply chain came into being in 1990. Before then, we were having logistics, procurement and logistics. We were not having procurement and supply chain. Supply chain is a modern term which was developed from logistics, but it has gone beyond logistics. So supply chain started in 1990, just about 30 years ago that supply chain started. And there was this renowned person called Lambert. He started supply chain. Before 1990, we didn't know anything about what supply chain. So let's look at drivers of supply chain. What led to the development of supply chain? What triggered supply chain? What triggers supply chain is what? Cost pressure. We want to reduce costs. We want to reduce inventory and waste. That led to what? Supply chain. Time. We want to have efficient timing. We need a faster product, more customized deliveries. This also led to supply chain. We want reliability of goods. We need to ensure that the items of quality. This also led to what? Supply chain. We want response. We want to provide real-time information from our suppliers, our customers, and this led to supply chain. We also have transparency. They need to make the status of orders visible to support planning. We need transparency from suppliers and our customers. So these are the 5 drivers that led to the development of what? Supply chain. Supply chain wasn't part of us. It came to be in the year 1990. Certain activities happened. The growth of certain activities led to supply chain. These are to reduce costs, to have a time or early delivery or faster delivery, reliability of the goods, and then response to customer needs, and then transparency. So these activities led to what? Supply chain. So now what then are the benefits of supply chain that we are talking about? Supply chain is all about cost reduction, reduces total supply chain costs. That is procurement, inventory, transportation, and production. All these are part of supply chain. Eliminating waste activities and implementing cost reduction programs. And another benefit is that we want to improve customer service. We want faster order fulfillment and shorter lead times. All these are being helped by supply chain. We want better inventory management, lower inventory holding costs. We want to reduce stock out and also reduce overstocking. Okay, these are benefits of supply chain. We want to improve responsiveness to customers' requirements. We want access to complementary resources and capabilities. Sometimes we want joint information or joint problem solving with our customers and our suppliers. So the moment we see customers and suppliers and focal firms are coming together to solve problems, that means we are in supply chain. So there are certain modern activities that led to what? Supply chain. We want to enhance product and service quality. All this led to the formation of what? Supply chain. Okay. And when we talk of supply chain too, we have some development in supply chain. Like we have 4 or 5 cycles of human being. As a toddler, as adolescent, adult, and maybe old. Supply chain also begin from somewhere and end at another end. Or we have 4 main key activities in supply chain. The first activity is for internal integration. So we're now talking about development of supply chain. Supply chain consists primarily of collaborative, integrative across supply chain. So in supply chain, there must be collaboration between organizations and the networks within organizations, within the supply chain. There must also be integrative, sharing of what? Information. Okay. We have internal integration. Internal integration means coordination between internal functions such as procurement, production, marketing, finance, and logistics. These are the internal what? Integration. What are external integration of supply chain? This means collaboration within key suppliers and customers and information sharing on demand forecast. So you see that internal integration is within the same or single organization, and the external integration is between one organization and another organization. And the another development in supply chain is the process orientation. Process orientation focus on end-to-end processes rather than individual attacks. So in supply chain, we are looking at what? How the goods will move from the supplier down to the final customer. We are not looking at one particular process, but all the processes involved. So in process orientation, we are not looking at what? One particular activity within the supply chain, but we are looking at what? The collaborative what? Activities. Then supply chain, we also look at what? Relationship within the organization. For you to achieve a better supply chain, then you must also form relationship between the customers and the suppliers. One other thing that you must also consider is stakeholder or procurement or supply chain function. Do you understand the meaning of stakeholders? Stakeholders are those who have interest in any organization. We have internal stakeholders and we have external stakeholders. So who's a stakeholder? Stakeholders are individuals or groups that have an interest in or influence on are affected by procurement and supply chain activities. So let's take this stakeholders one after the other. We have internal stakeholders. Who are the internal stakeholders? These stakeholders are within the organization who rely on procurement and supply chain performance. Who are these stakeholders? Top management. The managers in any organization are all internal stakeholders. User departments, those who use the items that are bought by procurement officers, are also stakeholders. The finance is also stakeholder. Logistics and warehousing, they are all part of what? Internal stakeholders. Then other stakeholder, any other member in the organization, the managers and staff of other functions or units of the organization whose work and goals intersect with those of the procurement are also part are also part of internal stakeholders. Now let's consider external stakeholders. These stakeholders are outside organization but directly involved in or affected by supply chain. Who are our external stakeholders? They include suppliers and the customers of our products, logistics and service providers, the government and the regulatory bodies. There are also professional bodies and trade unions who represent the interests of their members within the organization. Various interests and pressure groups. Okay, each organization stakeholder have their own interests. Now, the interest of procurement organization is different from the interest of supply organization. The procurement organization wants the item delivered on time. Procurement organization wants a quality item to be delivered. While the supply organization wants his interest to be like prompt payment of when items are delivered. So you see that there are interesting and conflicting goals here when stakeholders meet. 1, 2, 3, 4 people meet. Their interests are different. While the supplier wants his money from the procurement organization, the procurement organization wants items to be quality and then deliver on time. Maybe the supplier can deliver an item on 10 days later, but the procurement organization wants item to be delivered on 5 days. So 10 days and 5 days, see, there can be different interests and conflicting goals. So the best way to do is manage different interests in any supply, manage the stakeholder interests, manage the stakeholder interests. So if you have 5 or 6 people within a particular who form the stakeholder group, you can see that each group has its own interest. Okay, the supplier as a stakeholder. Now, the main external focus of procurement stakeholder management activity is the supplier. External suppliers who have a key stake in any procurement. Okay, external collaborators such as outsourced service providers, or maybe when you go and hire third-party transport or third-party services, it is also part of the external stakeholders. Okay, so you must be able to manage the interests of different activities. Something like a football. Let's take a football team like Chelsea or Barcelona or Real Madrid. Look at the number of people from different countries who form Barcelona. The number of different players from different countries. So sometimes I wonder how the coach is able to speak to people from Africa, people from Asia, people from America, because we have different languages. So each player has its own interest. Each player has its own food that he can even eat. So when you meet as a group, you must also manage the different interests of every person. Okay. Our last topic for the day, then we are done for lesson unit 3 is corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility. Why procurement and supply chain students must study corporate social responsibility? Why should they be concerned about corporate social responsibility? I hope corporate social responsibility is not new to you, but we are going to discuss something about corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility refers to an organization commitment to operate ethically and sustainably. It means you are procuring items which are good, it doesn't have any environmental problem. The item that you are buying will not have any effect on the person who is going to use it. It will not have any effect on the customer. And where you are buying the item, to make sure you are buying from the right source. Okay, you are buying from. Let's assume you are buying 2x4 that are going to use in your organization. You don't go and buy from those who sell at the roadside. Go to timber market. That is where the law has mandated that, meaning all those who are selling at the timber market, they get the goods from the right source. But those who sell it on the street, they don't get it from the right source. They just sell the trees indiscriminately. And we don't want to encourage that practice. So the law says that go to where you can take the item ethically. That is the timber market. Okay. So whilst we continue to buy goods and services from the environment, we must also make sure that we are replacing what we are buying. We are buying from the source. We are not buying the item that can have effect on the consumer. Okay, so CSR is critical to procurement because many social and environmental impact occur in supply chain. Once you are transporting the goods from one organization to organization, look at the emissions and carbons that affect the environment. They are all part of corporate social responsibility activities. We must choose a car that does not smoke. We must choose a car that may not have accidents. Okay, these are part of corporate social responsibility. Okay, so what are key social responsible practices in supply chain? We must encourage ethical sourcing and fair trading. You must encourage ethical sourcing, meaning the item that you are buying is of quality. Then when you convert it into finished goods, it is not going to have effect on the consumers. You must avoid child labor and forced labor. You must make sure that where we are buying items from our suppliers, they don't use children as child labor or forced labor in organization. We shouldn't encourage it. So when you are buying items from a supplier and you see that the person is using children, you don't have to buy from that person. It is not ethical. So we must also help to what? Allow society to have a fair dealings. Okay. We must also ensure that the item that we are buying is of what? Environmental, has a good environmental what? Practice. And then the packaging must also have a good environmental issue. You don't buy an item where after using the item, the package alone have environmental issue. You cannot even dispose this item. So we buy item where the item can be disposed of. Nowadays, you can see that people are now moving from rubber packaging to paper package. It means rubber package is not enough. It's not good. It doesn't help us. But paper package, we can easily dispose them. These are part of corporate social responsibility. Social responsibility objectives. What is the essence of corporate social responsibility? We want to conserve the world's limited natural resources. We don't have much resources in the world. So the one that we have today, we need to conserve it, we need to protect it for ourselves and for our children that we are going to give birth in the near future. If you continue to extract all the resources, all the minerals, everything today, all those things will happen to our future or our children. They may not have access to natural resources. We must also minimize the use of non-renewable resources, minimize fuel use in transporting goods or using recycled materials. Now we are encouraging recycling of material. If one item can be used 5 times or 6 times before we dispose them, it's better than to use it once and dispose them, because we want to make good use of what resources that we have in this world. Another way of corporate social responsibility is what? We must respect human rights and then labor standards, supporting community development and local sourcing. We must ensure that environment is being kept nice for our resources. Okay, controlling pollution. We must control pollution, managing waste, avoid environmental degradation and loss of wildlife animals. We must support recycling, minimize carbon emissions, and so on. We must also have ethical trading, business relationship, and the development, ensuring products are safe and quality to protect consumers. Because at the time we were producing the item, the consumer is not there. So we shouldn't even use certain ingredients or chemical that will affect the consumer after consuming the item. So let's take a product like Sobolo. The color alone, you may not even know the content of the Sobolo. So the first thing that you have to do, you need to protect the consumer who is going to consume this item. Okay, so we must make sure that whatever we are doing, we must ensure that we are protecting the consumer. We are also protecting the environment. Areas of environmental concern in a corporate social responsibility, as far as procurement people are concerned, is that procurement staff have a role to play in conserving the environment. You must buy the right item from the right source. You must also dispose waste at the right place. And you must also select the right suppliers. You must make sure that items being supplied by the suppliers are also good. Okay, then you must make sure that everything that we are doing it according to how nature wants us to do. I will end here. If there's any question, then you can bring it out. Time is almost up. It is question time. Today we have learned a lot. Is there any question that you want more explanation? Hello?
Hi, sir.
Yes. Time for questioning. Any question?
No, please.
Okay. I learned we are not meeting next week.
Yes, sir. We are not meeting.
And next 2 weeks we are writing here. Next 2 weeks we are
writing our
that's the
quizzes.
Yes.
Yes.
Today, 2 weeks today.
2 weeks today, yeah.
So after that, it means that date we know.
So we have 2 weeks off from lectures. I think we have 1 week for revision and then the other week for quizzes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will do 3 weeks today.
That's it.
Okay.
Hello,
I
sir.
wish you were in.
Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Please, I want to pass this quick note.
Okay.
I'm having the list for Bompe, Sokode, Kumasi. It's left with Tamale and Neutral Medina. So please, the cost rate for Tamale and Neutral, please, can you furnish me your list registration number so that it can be easy for us during the presentation and the sharing of the topics.
Okay. Meaning later I have to give you presentation assignment.
We want to compile the list, then send it to you so that you can share the topics to us.
Okay.
So we are compiling the
Okay,
list.
do that.
So I need Tamale. The list is ready, so it's like with Tamale and Lutheran Medina. So
what of what, please?
And I have to give you some.
Why you are part of the other group?
But when I checked the Twitter attached to the course, it was this man.
Please check it very well.
I need your index numbers and then your names because there's some attendance man that I have to give.
Yes.
That is 20% of your assessment.
Hey.
So 20% of your assessment will come from me. So I need
yes, please.
I need your attendance and then I need your index numbers and then your name so that I can compile those assessments. Okay.
All right, sir.
Sir, some of us are not using the name we registered with on Google.
Hey.
Yeah. Our Google name is different from our real names.
Wow.
But that is why he said he means that, or is it because of the attendance?
No, not the attendance.
Yes.
It's because of the presentation. I need your real names and registration numbers. Okay. So I have Bompe Takrade, I have Kofobia, I have Sokode, I have how do you call it? I have 4. It's left with 2. That is Lutra, Medina, and Tamale.
Frank, do you have Kumasi's own KTI?
Yes, I have Kumasi. I have Kumasi's own.
Yeah.
I have Kumasi.
But
yes.
I think this list has been forwarded to you some time ago now.
Not all.
All right. But you can just forward that list to the lecturer. As he says, he needs our index number. I think the list was like your index number and your name.
Yes, we need the full class. The that this lecturer is taking us. We need this study centers before I send it to him. I need all the list because I can't just send some and leave the rest. Okay, so I need all the study centers before
No,
I
not
can
part.
push it to him.
Please, is no center not part of the class?
Which center?
Oh,
Sokode, yes. Who you are part? I have your list.
Yeah, we are part.
Yes, I have whole list. I have Kofodia, I have Kumasi, I have Takrade. Then it's left with Medina, then Tamale. It's supposed to be 6.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Boss, you know, one of my sisters just made a point. They said the names that appears on the lectures attendance, some of them hasn't been registered as the Gmail whatever. So you know, she was making a point here. Maybe if the lecturer is going to take a attendance, maybe some names will be varied. So here, how do we address that issue?
that's why I need
Exactly.
the class list so that I will send it to the lecturer for him to do his corrections. Okay.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, I wish you good luck in your midterm exam.
All right. Thank you,
Bye
sir.
bye.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
All the best.
No, we have to say from class.